Hello, I'm Bruce Goldstein. I'm president of Farmworker Justice. Each week during Hispanic Heritage Month, we are recognizing someone who has contributed greatly to the cause of justice for farm workers. We are doing these presentations of awards in a series of 30-minute presentations on Zoom, and you can then see them on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. So please log on to Farmworker Justice's website for a complete list of awardees and presenters at farmworkerjustice.org. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Farmworker Justice before we recognize our awardee today. Farmworker Justice is a not-for-profit organization. It was founded in 1981 to empower farm workers to improve their wages and working conditions, occupational safety and health, immigration policy, and access to the justice system. We engage in policy analysis, advocacy in Congress and agencies, community support, capacity building for community-based organizations, litigation, and corporate social responsibility initiatives. Though based in Washington, D.C., we have 2 staff members in California, and we work with groups who serve farm workers throughout the United States. Our events, like these award receptions and presentations, enable us to reach out to supporters and gain the support that we need to continue our valuable work for farm workers. So for that reason, we especially appreciate our sponsors and supporters of these awards this year, including the California Community Foundation, the United Nurses Associations of California Union of Healthcare Professionals, AARP, and Good Farms. So let's begin. Today, we are honoring the mayor of the City of Coachella, California, Steven Hernandez, with the Farmworker Justice Award. Welcome, Steven.
Bruce, thank you for having me.
Steven and his 2 older brothers were raised in Coachella by their grandparents, who were migrant farm workers. He graduated from Coachella Valley High School and the University of California, Riverside, nearby. He later returned to Coachella. He also earned a master's degree in public administration at the University of Southern California when he was on his 2nd term on the City Council of Coachella. The mayor of Coachella is not a full-time paid position. His day job is the chief of staff for the county supervisor, Manny Perez, whose parents were farm workers. Coachella played an important role in advancing the United Farm Workers efforts, such as the Delano grape strike from 1965 to 1970, the first grapes picked by UFW members at increased wages following the strike came from farms in Coachella. In 1990, Cesar Chavez's elementary school was named after him. It was the first public school in California to be named in his honor. Clementina Oyoke of Coachella had organized for more than 20 years to have more recognition of Cesar Chavez's work supporting farm workers in the eastern Coachella Valley. The city ultimately unveiled one of her biggest successes in this quest, a memorial and a sign to represent the renaming of Harrison Street in Cesar Chavez's honor. She was quoted standing in front of the large United Farm Workers flag made out of corroded steel that was erected in Coachella's De Oro Park, saying, "If it had not been for Mayor Steven Hernandez, this would never have happened." I've had the opportunity to meet with Mayor Hernandez to see and hear the vision he has for his community and the actions he's been taking to advance the interests of farm workers. So we're very pleased to present our Farmworker Justice Award to Mayor Steven Hernandez. So congratulations. I have a few questions for you, Steven Hernandez. So you're mayor of Coachella, but this is not a full-time position. So please tell us both about your work as mayor and as your other work as chief of staff to the county supervisor.
Well, for us, both of these positions, it's about service to others. It's about making sure that we can use government in a way that factors in equity, that factors in race, that makes sure that we can do for those that are less privileged and disenfranchised and ultimately look at creating good spaces. And so we've taken that approach in Coachella. We've taken that approach in the county. We make sure that we can resource the underserved communities, that we can give them political power, that they can have a feedback loop so that the government ultimately is working for them and is being responsive to their needs.
And a lot of people are familiar with the Coachella Festival down the road, but they may not be aware of the big distinction between the farm workers who live in Coachella Valley and a lot of the people who live just north up by Palm Springs. So you come from a farm worker background in Coachella. So please tell our audience about your family and your background and about the community.
Yeah, so Coachella, we're 98% Latino. Many of our community residents are newly arrived, as well as first generation and second generation Latino from Mexico. And so the experiences here for the vast majority of our community is service worker jobs. We are part of a $7 billion tourism economy, or what was a $7 billion tourism economy before COVID. And the vast majority of our residents work in that tourism economy. Moreover, we also have about a $1.5 billion agricultural economy. And so we grow about 122 commodities, anywhere from grapes and dates to all the varieties of citrus and winter greens. My parents, my grandparents, I was raised by my grandparents, were braceros, and they arrived here in 1948. My grandpa actually told a story that he got deported a few times, but then in 1952, he was able to actually do the documentation that he needed and became a bracero. So we were raised by our grandparents who, well, we labored. We labored in the grapes, and we would live here in Coachella throughout the school time, and then in the summer we would head over to Early Marduk Court in Visalia, that's in the Central Valley of California.
So you were migrant farm workers.
Absolutely, yes. We were migrant farm workers, and I even worked in the grapes a few years, and I still have family that works in the grapes and works in the agriculture industry, and you know, they're part of my feedback loop.
Thanks. So I wanted to ask you about the effects of COVID-19 on farm workers in the Coachella community, and what agricultural employers are doing or not doing, and what the local government is doing during the pandemic to address the impact on farm workers and their family members.
Yeah, I think early on, you had a lot of just employers who, I think like many industries, didn't necessarily know what to do to keep their employees safe. And as a result, you had instances where several farm workers got sick, and there were clusters in a couple of different areas of the work industry. So working with them and working with, of course, the migrant farm workers, we made sure that we could provide them with personal protective equipment. We made sure that we could, you know, implement the new rules of social distancing, and have been working with them through the county to ensure that if there are lost wages, that those lost wages can get replaced, to ensure that they have access to testing, to ensure that they have access to you know, a place to live, because we know that we have multi-generational households, and if one person gets sick, the whole household gets sick. So we wanted to make sure that we can isolate the sick individuals. But you know, what has been difficult is that migrant farm workers and farm workers in general are essential workers, and it's been difficult to get them to, you know, social distance, and we still have instances where people are being, you know, are getting contracting COVID-19. It's not only happening in the agricultural fields, but it's happening in grocery stores as well. So we as government, we're trying to do everything we can to make sure that we can just make sure that people wear their masks, that they make sure that they have access to gels, and that their employers are also doing their part, and at the same time educating them on what they need to do to stay safe. You know, sometimes we are a culture who likes to gather, and we need to make sure that we gather safely, and we also do so in a manner that's adhering to the social distancing requirements.
Well, thanks. And we at Farmworker Justice have spent a lot of energy trying to help farm workers around the country and policymakers understand just what needs to be done and what they can do to protect themselves, but also advocate at local, state, and national levels for stronger protections, for economic stimulus, paid sick leave, premium pay, access to health care. So we will continue to do that. And hopefully now that people, more people are seeing farm workers as essential workers because they've been designated as such. So we're hopeful that we can build on that over the long run and get a greater measure of justice for farm workers in the fields. So to help us present your award, we've asked someone who you know pretty well and is a local resident of that area. He is Pepe Serna. Pepe Serna is a veteran film and television actor with over 141 film credits and over 300 television show credits. He's a member of the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences. He's a voting member for the Oscars. He's an artist in his own right. He's also an active member of the Farmworker Justice Advisory Council. So welcome, Pepe Serna, and thank you for helping us.
Thank you. Mayor Steven Hernandez, you have displayed such a strong commitment to all of your community, especially the underserved. You have spent your entire adult life not only advocating for the disenfranchised, but also for the farm workers in the Coachella Valley. Your leadership role in the Riverside County as mayor of the great city of Coachella has not gone unnoticed. Since becoming a resident of Coachella Valley, I have personally witnessed firsthand that you are a natural born leader, born from a family who labored in the agricultural fields. The majority of us who have never worked in the fields can never begin to understand what it's like to work, toil in the fields under the blazing hot sun in unbearable conditions. Your leadership has become a beacon in the night on how elected officials, American society at large, and especially corporate-owned farms should all show much more compassion and appreciation for these men, women, and children who work in the fields. Mayor Steven Hernandez, it is my honor to present you with the 2020 Farmworker Justice Award. Congratulations, caballero.
Gracias. Thank you so much. Let me take a moment and thank Farmworker Justice for this award. Let me thank Bruce Goldstein, David Figueroa, Pepe Serna for this award. As I mentioned, I was raised by my grandparents. Éramos braceros, llegamos de Sinaloa en 1947 y oficialmente mi abuelo recibió sus documentos de ser bracero en 1952. And I remember my grandparents and my grandmother saying that if it wasn't for the immigrants, this country would not be what it is. And my grandma would pay particular attention to the labor of our family, the labor of our friends, the labor of our neighbors that were day in and day out laboring under the hot sun. And in our case, in the Coachella Valley, it can get up to 120. And they were piscando uva. They were, you know, underneath date palm trees and were, you know, picking dates. And that frame of reference, that spirit of service and of appreciation to the farm worker community has always stayed with me. And I've always remembered that if it wasn't for the campesino, if it wasn't for the farm worker, this country would not be what it is. And so we've taken that spirit of service and of gratitude, and we've tried to implement it within the city of Coachella. We've tried to implement it by creating a better space so that our farm workers, our immigrants can thrive. And one of the first steps that we took, it was to become a sanctuary city. So we wanted to make sure that our residents felt protected and knew that the government was behind them. We wanted to make sure that if there was any issues, that they can go to law enforcement and they would not be persecuted. Moreover, we started to make partnerships with the Mexican consulado to make sure that our farm workers had the documentation and that their residents had the documentation to be able to access services and to be able to just live a better life so that they can get medical services or get anything they need to enroll their kids in school or enroll in different services. And we continued for us because we knew that in order to create a good place for our residents and our immigrants and our campesinos and our braceros, that we had to pay attention to place-based initiatives and making sure that our residents in the city of Coachella had access to affordable housing. And so one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that we've built over 600 affordable housing units, and there's many more in the pipeline that are all targeted towards our farm workers in the city of Coachella. We've also taken it a step further in making sure that our residents have access to green parks and better parks so that their living conditions and their access to health and fitness is accessible here within the city of Coachella. And we've been working as well to make sure that we can get more healthcare services for our farm workers through partnerships with Borrego Health and Clínicas de Salud. And it's been working. And we're seeing the results of work, and we're seeing a lot of our residents starting to be engaged in civic life, starting to open up a small business, starting to see families progress. And I think it's because the council, my council colleagues, have all bought in on the vision that Coachella is a place for immigrants. Coachella is a place for farm workers. Coachella is a place where we embody the American spirit. I sometimes like to call us the Coney Island of the West Coast, because I know many immigrants who first arrive to the city of Coachella and get the assistance they need and head off to where they're going in search of a better life. For us, it's about keeping that attitude. And now with COVID, it's about ensuring that we can approach recovery in a way that is equitable and accessible, and in a way that there's fairness to our immigrant community, who are some of the most essential workers for us in Coachella, in California, and in the United States. So thank you so much for this recognition. I know that by driving forward a place-based initiative and making sure that our immigrants and our farm workers have a place in Coachella, that we're keeping the spirit of my grandmother and my grandfather alive here in the city of Coachella. And I think they represent the spirit of so many farm workers and immigrants that came to Coachella in California for the search of a better life. And it is our job as elected officials to make sure that they can realize that potential and that vision for their families, for our families, and for ultimately a better United States of America. So thank you for this award, and I'm humbled and greatly appreciative of this recognition. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's well deserved, and we really appreciate the opportunity to have gotten to know you and to recognize you as well. And we appreciate the work you're doing to empower farm workers in their communities. I also personally appreciated your reference. So that concludes our award presentation today. Please, if you're watching this, then we hope you're watching the other presentations we've done, the 2020 Farmworker Justice Awards. They're available on the Farmworker Justice Facebook page and the Farmworker Justice YouTube channel. The entire schedule is also available at www.farmworkerjustice.org. And we hope you'll follow us on social media and look at the wealth of information that we have on our website about farm workers, about the policy issues they're engaged in, about the advocacy that we are engaged in, about litigation, curricula, about health promotion. So there's a lot of information that's very useful to people who are interested in farm workers, people who are working with farm workers directly. So in closing, we'll also ask you for your support. Please contribute to Farmworker Justice. You'll see the way to donate and connect to us on our social media and in our website postings. Click on any of those links. We can't do that without you. Farm workers can't afford to pay us for our services, so we depend on contributions to make our work possible. We also hope that you'll take a look at our series, Farm Workers in the Era of COVID-19, which is also on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. We have a series of 17 episodes with people from farm worker organizations, service organizations, celebrity activists, and farm worker justice staff, talking about the difficulties that farm workers and their families have during the pandemic and the solutions to those problems. So again, thank you from all of us at Farmworker Justice. Stay safe.